The book takes place the summer after September 11th, and even though Elizabeth did not die in the terrorist attacks, Kate is very much affected by the sense of anxiety in the world, the responsibility of being a parent in uncertain times, and she's trying not to show that because she's a bit ashamed of this. She sees it as a source of shame. So in this section, she's about to go out to her anniversary dinner with her husband. They were on vacation. And she's wondering what they're going to talk about because they don't go out quite that often anymore. And she's also trying to look as if she's not becoming unhinged.
This is a parent's problem. I'm too old for this, but at any rate, I can remember back. What the hell are we going to talk about?
Without the kids to be sitting in the middle.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, it never happens to me. If my husband's listening, never, really, never. We're beyond that. We're at year 14 now. All right, so we're going to begin with Kate thinking about going out to dinner that night with her husband.
Okay.
She should have been looking forward to dinner, great food prepared and cleared by someone else. She would style her hair and put on her pink sundress, the one too feminine for her taste, but that Chris always liked. They would have a glass of wine and comment upon the bar crowd and have uninterrupted conversation that was broad and worldly like the old days. Her edgy humor would return, and he'd smile at her in the loose way that showed pleasure unrelated to his work. And when they returned to the bungalow, the sitter would be hastily paid, and there would be no flossing before bed. But that apathy was creeping in again, the sense she'd had lately that things didn't quite live up to their billing, so why bother? It was the same ambivalence and letdown she'd felt a few weeks before out to dinner with friends. She genuinely liked the women, other mothers from the preschool, but she'd had a sense of dislocation all evening. Kids' activities, home renovations, none of it mattered. She was unable to shake the sense that none of it could be counted upon to last. She'd started feeling this way after Elizabeth's death, but instead of fading as the months passed, it intensified. Sometimes it was a fog, a sense that she had not a single thought in her head worth sharing. Sometimes it was a growing panic that at any moment something could go very wrong. She'd always been conscious of her family's safety, but this was different. Danger was everywhere and nowhere, immediate and elusive, and no one was prepared. It was as if she alone could smell it, subtle as the metallic first moments of rain. She hadn't said anything to Chris, unable to imagine it, but she could imagine his response. After he stopped smiling, because surely his first thought would be that she was kidding, his look would change from one of identification to one of sympathy. He would suggest that maybe she should find someone to talk to, because it was quite a thing to lose a friend, and well, maybe everything that had followed in September had hit her especially hard too. The fact of his suggesting it would be enormous because he was an own bootstrap sort of man, and the word therapy was not part of his lexicon. That was her fear, not professional help, which had occurred to her but she believed wasn't necessary, but that Chris would look at her and see instability and weakness. It had been a long time since they'd gone out to dinner together, just the two of them. She could envision a staggered silence, one line of conversation after another failing to catch hold, until they finally chatted about the weather expected the next day and whether to go to the beach. There were many evenings back home when they moved around and past one another, wordless for hours at their own tasks. She was thankful for the few hours of quiet focus, but at moments she felt the loss of quiet companionship, a like-minded silence. Their daily lives were so different now. She could no longer say they were of like mind. Was it possible, she wondered, to have solitude together? She tried to imagine what he would do if after dinner she went to his study back home with her book or her laptop and sat on the couch there instead of in the living room, as they had in the early years. He might glance over the top of his computer with a look of surprise and then a smile of welcome. Hey there. Or there might be a moment's hesitation. She'd sit quietly nearby, each of them feeling the weight of the other in the room and a dampening of his or her own thoughts, each looking up expectantly when the other shifted in a chair or looked off in the middle distance. She might offer a snippet of commentary about something she was reading, but it would not be easily understood out of context. After an hour or so, she would stand and stretch, murmur that she thought she'd call it a night, and the following night she'd go back to the living room. It was a gift, solitude, but solitude with another person, that was an art.
What a notion. Solitude together, that's an art.
That's marriage.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.